All right, in this explainer, we're going to cut right through the hype around robotics. We're here to separate what's actually happening in the real world from what's still stuck in science fiction. So let's look at where the real progress is being made. So, what's on the agenda? We're going to pinpoint the key areas where you can see real progress, lay out the next concrete steps, and, maybe most importantly, unpack the huge challenges that are holding the whole field back. Let's get right into it. Okay, and you know where we have to start, right? The most iconic image of them all, the humanoid robot. I mean, this is the vision that's been capturing our imaginations for decades. But this is also where the dream really crashes head-on with reality.
Which brings up a really basic question. Why go through all the trouble? I mean, why build a robot that looks like a person? Why not just slap some wheels on everything and call it a day? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, but the execution, that's where it gets incredibly difficult.
So you can see the core trade-off right here. The upside, on the left, it's huge. Our entire world, think about it. Stairs, doors, tools, kitchen counters, it's all built for the human body. A humanoid robot could just slot right in without us having to rebuild society. But then you look at the right side, the challenges, and they are just immense. We're talking about insane energy consumption, the mind-boggling complexity of just balancing on two legs, making sure they're safe to be around, and oh yeah, the absolutely staggering cost.
So what's the bottom line here? Look, you can forget about a robot butler in your home, at least for now. The short-term reality check is this. These machines are going to show up first in places that are super structured, like factories and warehouses, places where they can do the same standardized, repeatable tasks over and over again, far away from the messy chaos of our daily lives.
But you know, while the humanoids get all the flashy headlines, the real robotics revolution, the one that's happening right now, is almost invisible. It's happening in logistics. Think about it. The demand for next-day delivery, what a lot of people call the Amazon effect, has basically created a perfect storm for automation. This isn't just a cool tech choice anymore. It's a logistical necessity. The biggest, fastest changes in robotics are happening inside warehouses as we speak.
And this lays out the progression perfectly. Step one is pretty much where we are today. You've got these autonomous mobile robots. You can just picture them as smart, self-driving shelves, zipping all over the place. They bring goods to robotic arms that pick and sort, and the whole thing is optimized by AI. So what's next? Well, that's step two, the fully automated dark warehouse. They call it that because you don't even need lights or people. It's just AI handling the whole shebang, from quality control to dealing with all sorts of different products.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. It explains exactly why logistics is the perfect breeding ground for this tech. See, unlike your messy home or a chaotic city street, a warehouse is a totally controlled, structured world. The jobs are repetitive, and the economic benefit, the return on investment, you can measure it immediately. It's just perfect conditions for the robotics we have today.
All right, so let's shift gears now from sorting boxes to helping people. With aging populations all over the world, there's a huge amount of interest in using robots in the care sector. But, and this is really important, the goal here needs to be framed carefully. It's all about providing support, not about replacing human caregivers.
So what does support actually look like in practice? Well, in the near future, we're talking about robots that handle the grunt work, the logistical tasks, things like hauling medicine and linens around a hospital. Or really simple but helpful, stuff like reminding a senior when to take their pills. You've also got telepresence robots, which let doctors visit patients from far away. And, of course, robots that do the cleaning, freeing up the human staff to focus on, the actual human care.
But let's be crystal clear about the limits here. A fully autonomous robot that can give you that complex, empathetic, nuanced care that a person can, that is not coming anytime soon. We're just nowhere near that level. The delicate motor skills, the ability to read a situation, the emotional intelligence, that's all way, way beyond what today's AI and robots can do. So again, the goal is assistance, not substitution.
So, it doesn't matter if we're talking about those futuristic humanoids, the warehouse pickers, or the simple service bots. They all run into the same basic roadblocks. Let's break down the 4 biggest technical hurdles that are really slowing things down for everyone in the field.
First up, energy. It's really just a basic physics problem, right? Moving heavy arms and legs, running powerful computers for all that AI, it just eats up a tremendous amount of power. Plain and simple, until we get a major breakthrough in battery tech, getting these complex mobile robots to run for a useful amount of time is going to remain a huge challenge.
Second, and this is a big one, AI and perception. A factory floor is predictable. The real world, it's infinitely chaotic. For a robot to be safe out there, it has to understand what's happening around it in real time. That means it's got to blend data from all its sensors, using things like LiDAR to map out distances and computer vision to figure out what it's looking at, so it can tell the difference between, say, a child running into the street and a ball rolling by. That is a massive, massive software and processing challenge. Hurdle number 3 is the bottom line: money. Plain and simple, cost. Those super advanced robots you see in the viral videos, they often cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's just no way they can become widespread at that price. And look, just like with every other piece of technology, the price will only drop with mass production, with economies of scale. We're just not there yet.
And finally, we have safety and regulation. And this one is a huge societal hurdle. If an autonomous robot causes an accident, who's liable? Who pays? What safety standards do they even need to meet before we let them roam around in public? The problem is, the laws and rules are developing at a snail's pace compared to how fast the tech is moving, and that creates a massive bottleneck for actually deploying any of this stuff.
So when you put all these pieces together, a pretty clear picture starts to form. The way robots are going to enter our lives, it's not going to be some sudden overnight revolution. Not at all. It's going to be a slow, steady evolution, one industry at a time.
So let's look at a realistic timeline based on what we know. For the next, say, 0 to 5 years, expect to see that massive wave of automation continue in those structured places we talked about, logistics and industry. Then, in the 5 to 10-year window, you'll start seeing more specialized service robots pop up in semi-structured places, like hospitals and hotels. And it's only when we look 10 or more years out that we'll begin to see humanoid robots emerge as flexible workers, and even then, they'll start in professional settings, long before one ever makes it to your house.
And really, that brings us to the most important takeaway of all. The question was never really if robots are coming. Of course they are. The real question, the one that drives everything, the pace, the direction, is where do they make economic sense first? And for the foreseeable future, the answer to that isn't our messy, chaotic living rooms. It's the structured, repeatable, and easily measurable world of industry.